Today in graphics, I want to show you guys some basics in working with text in Photoshop. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll get started here. So the first thing we need to do is open up Photoshop. Mine is pinned to my taskbar here, but for you guys, you might have to go to your search button and type in Photoshop and click on the icon that looks like this, the PS. Okay. Once Photoshop opens, right away, this is the window that you see. You want to find a button that says Create New and go ahead and click on it. Okay. When you do, a box will pop up. This is where you tell Photoshop how big you want your artwork to be, your canvas. So on the right side of the box, there's a bunch of boxes that you can type in numbers and change things. So right now, my unit of measurement here says pixels. Let's just go ahead and change that to inches. And for the width, let's put in 8.5, 8.5 by 11 inches tall at 300 resolution. These are the numbers you want if you're ever going to print off artwork you've created in Photoshop on a standard piece of paper. Okay, so once we've got our settings typed in, let's go ahead and press the blue Create button, and voila, we've got our blank Photoshop project that we're ready to start working on. Okay. Now, before we actually add any artwork or do anything, it's always a good practice to immediately save your work so that as you're working on your project, you can just press Control S or go File Save and just keep saving it as you work on it. So we're going to go up here to the top, press File, Save As, Save on your computer. Okay. And we're going to look for the student shared J drive. Okay. Once you click on that, you'll see a whole bunch of folders pop up. Okay. We're going to scroll down and look for one called shared. Okay. So student J drive, shared, double click on that. More folders, but this time you're looking for my last name, which is Heyland, H-E-Y-L-A-N-D, all in capital letters right here. Okay. Double click on that, and then these are all the courses. So we're looking for Graphics 9, Winter 2022. Okay. Now, what I need you guys to do right now is right click, go New Folder, and put one that has your first and last name. Okay. So we'll have about 30 plus folders inside of this Winter 2022 folder. Okay. Once you've created your folder, click inside of it and name your file Text Effects. That's what I'm going to show you guys how to work with text right now and shapes. Okay. And then press Save. Okay. And then now as I work on my file, I can just press Control S here and there. Okay. So right away, I won't be able to do anything with text and stuff because my background layer is locked. So let's go ahead and unlock that. Okay. And now we're going to look on the left side of our screen are all of our tools, Photoshop tools. I call this my toolbox. Okay. We are looking for one called the text tool, which has the letter T in it. Okay. So there's kind of two ways of adding text to your canvas. The first is you can just click anywhere on your canvas and it'll bring up filler text. Okay. If I were to start typing, it would replace that filler text and put my name in. Okay. Now, if I wanted to make changes to this text, like the color or size, whatever, the font, I need to make sure that I have my layer selected over here. It says Joel Heyland, this text layer that I just added. Okay. And I'm going to grab the type tool This part's a little tricky because I have to highlight all these letters. I have to select them. So I have to click and drag my cursor and make sure that I've selected everything. Okay, so you can either click and drag, or I believe you can like quadruple click or triple click, 1, 2, 3, and it'll select all the type. If you accidentally click somewhere next to the text, you're going to create a whole nother text layer. Okay, so if you didn't mean to do that, you just drag the layer into the garbage can. Okay. So let's select the text, go up here at the top are all my options for this tool. So anytime you choose a tool, all of the options for that tool are found at the top. So if I click on the little color box, this box pops up, and I can go change the color of it. Okay. Over here, I can change the font. Okay. And as I scroll down the list and hover my mouse over different fonts, we can see a preview of what it's going to look like in that font. Okay. So in order to move the text around the screen, I have to use this tool at the top here called the Move tool. Okay. This Move tool allows you to move layers around on your canvas. If I had my type tool selected and I clicked and tried to drag and move my type around, it's not going to work. I have to go over to the Move tool, and then I can move it. Okay? So some other things that you can do with text to kind of make it look cool and give it effects is, well, one, you can change the size up here. So there's a lot of preset options in this menu, or if you hover your mouse over the little T and the big T, and you click and hold your click and drag to the right, I can make it bigger. Or if I drag to the left, I can make it smaller. So right now I'm holding down my click as I drag. Okay. For me, that's the best, easiest way to size things in Photoshop, because I can just kind of drag it till it's the size that I want it to be and not have to guess with typing in the size. Okay. The next thing I'll show you guys is, if we go up to the top menu here, well, first of all, let's save our work. So File, Save. Okay. Always a good practice just to save after you've done a couple changes to your work. So we're going to go up to Window and go down to Character. As soon as I clicked on it, this box right here popped up. Okay. This box allows me to make a few more changes with any text that I've added. For example, this little icon where it says VA, same thing. If I hover my mouse over it and I drag to the right, it increases the space between each letter. If I drag to the left, it squishes it together more. Okay. You can play around with these other ones, but these other ones apply when you have rows of text. So, island, blah, 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 blah. If I select my rows and go over to these, I can change the spacing between rows to add more space or to take away space. Okay, but I don't really want that for now because I'm just playing around with my name. So I'll delete. Select those and press backspace to delete. Okay. So some other cool effects I can do to my name here is make sure my layer is selected, Joel Hyland, good. Go down to the bottom right part of your screen. There's a little button that looks like the letters FX or FX. If I click on that, a little menu is going to pop up with some options. So you can see right away options like adding a drop shadow, an outer glow, okay, gradient, overlay, and stroke. Stroke's kind of a popular one when you're working with text in Photoshop, or posters or something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and click stroke. And you can see how, well, for one, a box popped up with all of our options, but a little thin black outline has been added around each letter. Okay, that's called a stroke. Now I can adjust my stroke inside of this box. I can give it a thicker stroke by sliding this scale here. I can change its color. Okay. Let's say I was going for a little bit of a Churchill themed name. Okay. I can give it an orange outline. I'm going to lighten it up a bit so you can still see the blue. Okay. And I can make my stroke more transparent or less transparent. So go ahead and play around with the stroke. And we'll pause it here for a second. Okay, another thing that you can add, first of all, if you want to turn on the effect or hide the effect, you can just click on the little checkbox next to the effects that you're putting on. So let's go ahead and maybe try to add a drop shadow, which is another popular text effect. So I've clicked on the check and I've added a drop shadow. It's a little hard to see right now, so let's play around with the settings. So I'm going to make it less transparent so we can see it. I'm going to lower the distance. If I increase the distance, the shadow moves further away from the text. And I'm going to lower the size a little bit. Size kind of is what blurs it. And let's lower the opacity. I just want a nice, subtle drop shadow to make the text feel like it's sitting off the page just a little bit. Okay, and there we have it. So why don't you guys go ahead and play around with drop shadow and adjust the settings and see if you can come up with something you like. And we'll pause here. Okay, another popular effects for text is called bevel and emboss. So let's go ahead and click on that checkbox and click on it, and let's adjust some of the settings. So bevel and emboss adds a little bit of form to your layer. So in this case, to our text. So right now it kind of looks a little plasticky. These letters were cut out of plastic. So we can go ahead and we can play around with, increasing or decreasing the amount of form or depth added. I like to soften mine. This kind of makes it look like a logo for a kid's toy, something you'd see at Toys R Us, We can play around with the size. So if we want just to kind of hug the very edge of our letters, we want to lower the size. If we want the form to go all the way to the middle, we can increase the size. I kind of want to just keep mine just kind of around the edges of each letter. Okay. And we can make the highlight stronger or we can soften it. So I'm just going to strengthen it a little bit and make the shadows a little more see-through. Okay, go ahead and play around with bevel and emboss and see if you can find some settings that work for your name. And we'll pause there. Okay, and the last one that I want to show you, of course you can play around with all these other ones, but the last one I want to show you is gradient overlay. Okay. Gradient overlay will go over, so before it was blue, gradient overlay will fill in the letters with a gradient. Okay, so just like all the other layer styles, we can adjust our settings here. So I'm going to choose a blue gradient, and there's lots to choose from. Kind of like that one. Okay. And again, we can play around with the angle. So if you wanted to go from left to right, you want your angle to be facing east. Or if you want it to go purple to blue, you obviously switch it so it's facing west. kind of like the north to south ones, where the color is one at the bottom and then goes up to a different color at the top. Okay. Now the last thing I'm going to do, just because I don't like these colors all working together, I'm going to just switch my stroke to some kind of dark charcoaly gray. And maybe there we go. Okay. So that is one way to make your text more interesting, especially for something like a poster. Okay, is we can add all these effects to it. And the last thing I'll show you guys is how you can rotate your text in case you want to put it on an angle. So I'm going to press on my keyboard, hold down Control and the button T, Control T, and it'll bring up this box. Okay, I can use this box to make it bigger and smaller. Okay, but if I move my mouse just kind of outside of the corner of the boxes, you see how my cursor switched to 2 arrows on either end of a kind of like this is the rotate. It's showing me right now that I can rotate that text. That line has an arrow on either end of it. So now I can click and hold my click, and I can drag and rotate the text however I want. Okay, so I'm just going to give it a little bit of an angle. Okay, I'm going to go up here and I'm going to save my work. And if you want, you can change your background from white and give it a color. So let's click on our black background layer and go over to our toolbar, and we're going to either have to right click. If right now, if you see a gradient tool, right click and find the paint bucket tool. Okay, or if you already have the paint bucket tool, then that's fine. Okay, and to add a color, we just click on our color palette right here at the top, this black box, and we're going to change it to find some kind of color that we like. So I'm just going to give mine a really soft blue background, and there we have it. Okay, go ahead and save your work one last time. And that's all I wanted to show you guys today, was just playing around with text and different text effects. Okay.